Hello everyone, I'm Professor Geek. Welcome back to my channel, and welcome to another Comicsgate review. This time we are going to look at Casefile Arkham. I will open it up here so we can stop glaring the light back and forth there. But this is Volume 1, and there's currently an Indiegogo campaign for Volume 2. As you can see on the screen right there, it's up and running, and you can still jump in on that. And I'd heard a lot about Casefile Arkham for a while, but never really looked into it to find out a lot about it, but I eventually did stumble on the Indiegogo campaign, and I looked over the site, and I loved what I saw, so I backed it, and I backed the tier that would let me receive Volume 1 and Volume 2, and then shortly after that, Josh Finney, the author, sought me out on Twitter and asked me if I would review Volume 1 if he sent me a copy, so I said absolutely. So I have a copy here well before this campaign ends, so I can let you know what looks good on it, and you can decide for yourself whether or not it's something you want to back. I do recommend it. I will tell you that right at the outset. This is a really fun book, and it's right up my alley, too. The genre is occult noir. That's the name of the genre, and that is, of course, a mixture of film noir and the occult works. So basically, you have something like Sam Spade and the Maltese Falcon, that kind of genre, mixed with H.P. Lovecraft. That's the idea, and at first it seems like that's kind of a weird amalgamation. It doesn't sound like that might really work, like it might clash too much, but it doesn't. It actually comes together for a unique effect. And I think they achieved this very well in Casefile Arkham. So we'll go ahead and bust into it, and I'll talk to you about how it does that. But I was just really impressed with the story. I was really impressed with the art. One of the ways they really draw the most they can out of the film noir and the Lovecraft aspect is that the artist, who, keep forgetting his name, yeah, Patrick McAvoy is the artist, and Josh Finney the writer, Kat Roca the editor. In the character design, they have based each of these characters off of film noir stars back in the day. At least I'm firmly convinced of that. Our main character, our main detective there, is clearly Robert Mitchum, I would say. This Mrs. Derelith here, she's clearly Carol Lombard. Yeah, see, I mean, you can see Robert Mitchum's all over that, and you see it over and over again. Later on, we have a character who's clearly Peter Lorre. We have a character who's Betty Davis, clearly. So I love that. I think that's cool, because that puts you in mind. If you know anything about film noir, you're familiar with that genre, that puts you in mind of that kind of story. And for a long time, the book is that kind of story. That's really all that you sense so far. I mean, you get hints of the Lovecraftian stuff to come, but it really doesn't bust into that fully until a little bit later, which is a nice effect when it happens. It does hint at that to come, though, and one of the ways it hints at that is by this missing artist who is clearly based on Jack Nicholson. I would say something like Jack Nicholson from The Shining or One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. And that's a sharp break from the film noir casting. So it's a hint early on in the book, just in the character designs, that there's an uneasy marriage of genres in this book that is really going to exploit quite well. And it does play into all the proper genre stuff, right? Our PI is a veteran from World War II, and he was in the Pacific Theater and saw a lot of trauma over there and whatnot, but now he's the tough guy, hard-boiled detective here in this city of Arkham, and he is on a case now to find this missing artist who is run in some, pretty high-class crowds, but he himself has a unsavory reputation and paints these very gruesome art pieces, very Lovecraftian. The way the story is told through the art and the text, there are a lot of panels in general on each page, and sometimes that can be done poorly, and sometimes that can be a negative on a comic. But the way they execute it in this, it really helps the cinematic experience of the story. Because sometimes there's a lot of text. I mean, look at that page, the double pages right here. There's a lot of text on the page. I mean, sometimes it's on the verge of possibly being too much text, but you don't feel like it's too much text because the many panels and the action and the way it makes it just kind of flow along. You know it's static images you're looking at, but in your mind, you're making them move. You're making the motion picture as you read and just kind of follow along the story. And the placement of the dialogue boxes and the caption boxes, they're nicely done so that they lead you in the right flow of the panels in the panel order, and they lead you right on in from one panel to the next panel, and it just has a nice sense of flow in the visuals, so the way you experience the story. And I'm pretty sure Gwendolyn is based on Cat Roca, just with long black hair, if I have that right. I'm sure they might have come out and said these things on other platforms, but I haven't heard a lot of interviews from them. I just haven't had a lot of time to research that. I just wanted to give a review of just the book on its own merit and recommend that, which I do. It's a great piece because of the storytelling, because the way it exploits the genre quite well. At the end of this volume 1, you do have a solid story arc. You feel like you've been told a complete story, and yet it's also done the job of setting up the universe, and you do have a couple of little secrets and little things that are left unresolved that will carry over nicely into volume 2. So I'm looking forward to that quite a bit. It uses some tropes in the storytelling from film noir, so it's in black and white, but that's good because there's a heavy use of light and shadow throughout the story, really. You also have canted angles, another hallmark of film noir, letting you know something's off in the story, something morally or whatever, however it plays out in the tale. You can tell that the mise-en-scene is quite careful. I'm using that word mise-en-scene as a film studies term, meaning everything within the shot, everything within the composition, within the panel. It's carefully done. The balance, it's not just haphazardly, oh, draw me some people over here talking or whatever. You can tell there's a lot of care and craft in the panel designs and the placements on the page. And then finally, in terms of theme, we have a private eye who is dealing with some stuff in his past, and his past experience in World War II over in Japan. Some dark things happened over there, and that affects him clearly as he's moving through in this story in the present day. Mirroring that, we have this Lovecraftian stuff. Gwendolyn talks about ghouls and these creatures who live in the bowels of the earth, and there's a theme of the story about going down into the earth, into the subways or into the caverns below, and that is a historic area. They talk about some of these tunnels must have been here from colonial times. So the idea of he has something in his past that is coming back to haunt him that he's having to deal with, and the villains, the plot, the people that he's dealing with in the story are also from the past, from the United States past, or from humanity's past. The idea is that what's buried below is going to come back to haunt you. If you stow things away in your memory and your subconscious, or really truly under the ground, literally, these things will come back to haunt you. And that's a great mirror of a theme. That's a great way to tie it up. And a lot of that will be more divulged, I think, in Volume 2. But I just definitely recommend Casefile Arkham. I don't know if you can just purchase Casefile Arkham Volume 1 anywhere now. I think they did it on Kickstarter back in the day, and that was before Comicsgate really got underway, and before Indiegogo was the place to be, and now Volume 2 is definitely on Indiegogo. So I don't know where you can go just to buy Volume 1, but I do know where you can get it at the end of this campaign. You go on to Indiegogo, search for Casefile Arkham Volume 2, and one of the tiers allows you to purchase both volumes, and that's what I did. And yeah, for $45, you can receive Volume 1 and Volume 2, the hard copies. For less money, you can receive the digital files. They also have some great swag, some posters and bookmarks and everything like that. So it's definitely worth a look into. I recommend the title, and I recommend the campaign. So let me know if you're going to back this. I would love to know that. I'd love to know if you already read Volume 1 this year like I did, and love to know your thoughts on that. I will be back shortly with another Comicsgate review I just received in the mail. Punchline from Antarctic Press, and this has made a lot of rounds on the social media lately because there's a issue or a cover, a variant cover, whatever, that was soon released, which has our Punchline character as well as what's her name from Rags Zombie, and then Black Hops as well. So a crossover with all three. That's pretty cool. So you might have seen this. I'm going to read this. Just received it in the mail today and review that as well. And there'll be more to come after that. Blue Mamba should still be in the mail to me very, very soon, so I will read and review that as well. Lots to come here on Professor Geek. Thanks to my supporters. Thanks for clicking that thumbs up and subscribing. Thanks for sharing the video. The links to my Patreon are down below in the description. Thank you if you're a patron. I appreciate that, helping me put out more content. And until next time, keep enjoying and digging deeper into the hero stories you love. Thanks for watching.